The thing with CZ was that he was he was a coder. He was a software engineer who, basically built Binance up from nothing. You think Binance is powerful. I mean, BlackRock is next level, isn't it? This is probably the right time for a change of leadership. The landscape has changed a lot.
Today, I sit down with crypto expert Guy Turner, host and founding member of Coin Bureau, and get his take on the recent Binance government crackdown, how this changes crypto, as well as his outlook for the BNB token into 2024. Watch the whole video.
It's been, there have been question marks hanging over Binance for a long, long time. And I think everything that's happened in the past sort of 24 hours, obviously, all these US agencies sort of coming out yesterday, or today, your time, and announcing all these things that Binance has supposedly done, and this massive, I think it's $4.3 billion fine, which is pretty hefty. So yeah, I think it's a good thing, really, because there've been so many question marks hanging over Binance. And I think this is a good opportunity for, to kind of close that chapter. And that is good for crypto, really. I think we can all benefit from that, because I think Binance has always been, or certainly for a long time, been, one of these things kind of lurking beneath the surface that may or may not, pop up and be a black swan all of a sudden. So I think this is a positive thing.
This has been a dark cloud looming over Binance for the last year. I agree. It is a good thing to kind of just let, we can move on. Binance pays the fine, CZ steps down. Does that cause fear in terms of like the success of Binance without its leader CZ in your mind?
No, not at all. I think Richard Teng, who's stepping into CZ's shoes, is a really, really experienced guy. He's got a very impressive CV. He was working he was chief regulatory officer at the Singapore Exchange for, I think, about sort of 7 years. He was CEO of Abu Dhabi Global Markets. He's a TradFi guy. He's got a lot of experience in that field. He's well connected. He's very personable. He's a great guy. I've met him and chatted with him a couple of times. In fact, I interviewed him in Singapore at Token 2049, and he's a really good guy, I think. And I think he is the right person to sort of take Binance forward from now. And I should say, that's not to, throw any shade on CZ. I think the thing with CZ was that he was a coder. He was a software engineer who, basically built Binance up from nothing, and sort of found himself in this position of being the CEO of the biggest crypto exchange in the world. They kind of had to make it up as they went along, in a sense, because this was new territory. This was uncharted territory for everyone involved. And so I think, CZ found himself sort of thrust into this role. I can't speak for him. I don't know whether that's something that he necessarily wanted or ever dreamed of for himself, but nevertheless, that's how it turned out. And I think he did an amazing job of bringing Binance to where it is now, still the biggest exchange in the world. But I think, this is probably the right time for a change of leadership. The landscape has changed a lot in the last few years since Binance launched. Crypto is a very different industry now. And I think Richard Teng is a good person to take Binance forward into the sort of next phase of their evolution. So I think it's good for Binance, and as I said, that's good for crypto as well.
There's a rumor going around that some of this was planned. BlackRock took down Binance in order to clear the way for a spot Bitcoin ETF. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I like a good conspiracy theory as much as anyone. So I don't know, who knows? Like BlackRock, you think Binance is powerful. I mean, BlackRock is next level, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's, as I understand it, has sort of always held back spot ETF applications is this idea of a lot of, Bitcoin trading volume being on, quote unquote offshore exchanges, in US terms. So Binance is definitely falls into that bucket. So I think that was possibly always a concern for the SEC. I mean, the SEC just doesn't like Binance, full stop. So yeah, could BlackRock have made this happen? It's not beyond the realms of possibility. I mean, there would be some pretty big 3D chess going on there if that was the case. But I mean, look, BlackRock is very powerful. BlackRock has the ear of people in these agencies and in government as well. So who knows? I wouldn't rule it out. Put it like that.
Some people are saying that, well, number one, this is the fact. BlackRock, Vanguard, they're investors in Coinbase. Number two, the SEC has given this. BlackRock is not the first spot Bitcoin ETF application. There's been applications for years, not by BlackRock, but the note has always been there's too much manipulation in the Bitcoin market, leading to the speculation. Well, if the largest exchange is offshore and we don't know what's going on behind closed doors of that exchange, Binance, then Binance has to lose heavy market share in order for a spot Bitcoin ETF to come into fruition. Does this make you more bullish on the spot Bitcoin ETF?
I mean, I'm bullish enough on the spot ETF, I think. I think it will come. Because I don't know how much this is going to necessarily affect Binance's market share. It's a massive fine that Binance has to pay for $4.3 billion. That is a heck of a lot of money, even for an entity such as Binance. But whether that affects its market share, I don't know, because it already doesn't really have a US presence. Obviously, the US market is huge, but Binance has, a pretty strong presence across much of the rest of the world. And perhaps this, these recent developments might be enough for other jurisdictions to go, well, look, Binance has settled with the US. As far as we're concerned, this sort of cloud has been lifted. That could pave the way for Binance to make up market share in those other jurisdictions. It could also increase consumer confidence. Users might be like, well, now that this isn't now that the US authorities aren't sort of circling Binance anymore, and this thing has presumably been resolved, that might make them more confident to trade on the exchange. So I don't think this is necessarily the moment where Binance starts to lose massive market share. I mean, it has lost market share over the last year or so, but it's still the biggest by a fair margin as well. And so I think, I think that's definitely worth bearing in mind. But having said that, I still think the ETFs are more likely than not to be approved, regardless.
I think in a lot of ways, CZ stepping down, paying the fine, just getting this over with, allowed Binance to dodge a bullet. It's like, let's all move on from this. Yet markets are emotionally driven, and the BNB token was tanking today on the news. What's your outlook for the BNB token in general looking forward?
I mean, as with all exchange tokens, it kind of rises or falls with the exchange in question. I think it did recently get overtaken by XRP, didn't it? Briefly, XRP sort of went higher by market cap. But I think BNB. I mean, I would imagine that the outlook is still pretty good for it. I imagine that Binance's trading volume will remain high, even if it does fall a bit. And like all exchange tokens, I mean, there's always this kind of business. Binance can mint or burn as many as they like. So I think Binance will be able to keep BNB ticking along fairly okay. Is how I see it panning out.
We don't have to get too deep into this, but what are the best exchange tokens? Honestly, the only reason you need to have them is if you're using the exchange. It's often cheaper fees. So, Binance is honestly more than an exchange token. It's its own DeFi ecosystem now. But what are the top ones in your mind?
I mean, I think they're all kind of much of a muchness. I guess BNB, as you say, because it has this whole other ecosystem beyond just being an exchange token and paying for fees. I mean, it depends, I guess, what exchange you're using. if you use, I don't know, if you use KuCoin a lot, then KCS is a useful one for you. If you use Binance, then BNB, etc. So,
Guy, final thoughts on the people watching this Binance news over the last couple of weeks. They're scared. They have questions. Final thoughts to them.
This is a big moment for crypto, because a big sort of black cloud appears to be clearing, and that is good news, not just for Binance, but for crypto as well. So this, and lots of people have been fudding Binance for a long time. And what I will say is that they've always processed withdrawals. They survived billions of dollars worth of withdrawals in the wake of FTX, for example. They had a stable coin with an absolutely massive market cap that they were forced to basically offload. They did that. They succeeded in doing that. As far as I'm aware, no one lost money with BUSD. So far, Binance has coped with everything that's been thrown at it. And I think they will cope with this as well. And I think it will bring a little bit more certainty, a little bit more clarity to the crypto market. But there's a lot happening beyond Binance. Remember, the Coinbase is still locked in a legal battle with the SEC. The SEC went after Kraken again yesterday or the day before. Again, they got a massive fine out of them for their staking services, and now they're back at them. I think it's unregistered securities offerings this time around. So, the SEC, US authorities are still very much on the warpath. But I think if Binance is kind of in the clear now, if they can reset and not face further action from US authorities, then that is definitely a good thing.